the agenda.
Rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kiefer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone is present on the board. Approval of agenda. Does anybody have any
So moved.
additions? No, none?
So I have one.
Okay,
Under unfinished business, actually under new business, if we could add surveying wetlands.
Surveying what?
Wetlands.
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else? Nothing, okay. Public comment from anyone in the audience? Public comment on the owl?
There's nobody on.
There's nobody on? Okay, well, apparently the
Start
notice.
offering a free coupon for apples in the fall if people get an owl.
Okay, we could do that, actually. Minutes, how about the minutes for the regular township board meeting, May 21st, 25? Does anybody either have a motion, corrections, additions, changes?
I'll move to accept the minutes of the
As-
21st, 25.
As presented?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? None being heard, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Approval of the minutes of the special township board meeting on May 29th. Corrections, changes, additions, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve those special township board meeting minutes.
As presented?
Yep.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Cindy. Any other discussion? None being heard, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. I guess we already had public comment out of order. Sorry about that. I was so anxious to get to it. County Commissioners report. Mr. Don's texted me and is not going to make the meeting. He just sent me a text, so.
Did it say anything about the recycling bins, some extra ones, or no?
I've called Carla again this week and said we need more bins. So
Yeah.
tried to call Lisa at the county, but Lisa wasn't there, so.
They get real full fast now.
Well, they were full on Sunday.
They're full today.
Are they full again today?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know if 3 more is gonna make enough difference. We probably
Oh, it
need
helps.
6 more. Because all the cardboard's going in there.
So during the summer, do they visit more frequently?
Well, that's
There's a lot more people.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
maybe if they
no,
dumped
I'm
them
saying
twice a
do they-
week, yeah.
That's what I meant
well,
when I said more
I
frequently.
can't tell you that, but I think it was 3 times last year in July and August, a week.
Oh, 3 times a
I
week.
think it was. They're doing 2 times now. And so they're gonna have to do at least 3 and,
Or get us a couple more green.
well, I said more bins. They don't have a cardboard bin by itself.
So we still don't, okay, so I remember last meeting you talked about more bins, so you're saying those are gonna be.
No. and I-
Same number there that have always been there, but maybe they gotta go up to, I
made
guess,
4 phone
3
calls
I
so
thought they
far.
were just doing it once a week.
No.
Twice a week?
Mhm. They'll probably be here tomorrow and then Monday. Sunday night, they come one Sunday night at midnight.
Huh.
Cause I got a call why the truck was there.
Dumping the things.
Yeah, which is kind of, they must have run on time. Anyways, I called her Monday. All I can do is call again tomorrow.
Is there any other townships that like don't, maybe they have extra?
Extra what?
Well, I think our brethren in Bear Lake still doing the PCA trailers, you know?
That I
Yes.
don't know. I'm just saying, like, if there's a township that has like 5 of them and they're like, wow, we all usually only fill
Oh, no,
3 a
it's
week.
not a shortage of bins. They have bins.
Oh,
They
they got-
they were just supposedly gonna paint them. That was like 2 weeks ago. They were gonna put fresh paint on them so they look good.
Could we call, it's GFI, right? Could we call GFI directly?
Well, I don't know. We have Carla's our liaison supposedly.
Well,
Yeah,
could
we
we call
could.
GFI
Yes.
directly?
Yes. I haven't done that, so maybe we should, I guess.
I wouldn't request the bins, I would find out if the county has requested the bins, because it's a county program and I don't want to be stepping on their toes. I want to hold them accountable to do what they're supposed to do under the special.
Nor do I want them to bill us separately.
Plug that in so it doesn't go out. I think it might have gotten bumped. Thank you. I just feel like the county needs to take care of that. We can certainly see if they've inquired, but I don't think we should be requesting them unless they clear it with Carl first.
Because they don't bill us separately, and we don't want to do that. It's all part of the recycle program.
Send us a can.
And the county is under contract that if there's a problem there, the site's clean, that they're supposed to come take care of it. So I think that needs to be, if we have an issue later this summer when more people are out, Paul needs to go to the county.
Call Carl tomorrow again. And Monday, so whatever. So no Jeff Dance and no Janice, so we'll move on. Financial report.
So in the packet, you had the balance sheet, revenue and expense, and monthly invoices. Were there any questions on any of those reports at all?
Interest is still
Yeah,
decent.
interest is still holding on because the Fed hasn't lowered rates. So the average yield was about 4.4% in the last month. So we're still earning, $5,500 in interest. So north of 60 grand a year, which is really good compared to what it has been in previous interest rate environments.
Okay. Questions for Ed? Anybody?
And then, what's next?
Department
Yeah,
boards?
so the treasurer's report, the only thing I've got is the CPA, which they come every year. We have an audit every other year. This is an off year, so we don't have a formal audit, but the CPAs do come and do the year-end roll-up. And they push that back, so they'll be here 23rd through the 25th, or maybe just a couple days. And we'll get them the information, and they'll go through them, make sure if there's any adjustments we need to do to the books, and can get those posted. Then on property taxes, the county's got those. The bills will be mailed out right at the end of June, and tax collection starts July 1st. We are accepting credit card payments now for tax payments. There is a fee for that, but it's clearly disclosed when you go online to do it. And there's information on that in the newsletter, and I'm going to update the payment page on the website here to have that information as well. And then on short-term rentals, Jennifer wanted me to let you know that 2025 permits issued, renewed or new so far are 42. Permits in the process of being issued are 2. Known violations, which is operating without a permit, and a letter has been sent as 1. Possible violations, letters sent waiting for a response are 2. And then 2024 permits not yet renewed for 25, there's 5 of them, and one of those is coming in to complete. So I think that's been pretty good. We did streamline the renewal process. I think there were some landlords that were a little frustrated because when we went back through the files, maybe the previous applications weren't quite complete. So we're making sure they have totally complete applications, and then in future years they can just do the renewal application, which is much shorter and easier for them to do. So I think that's working out pretty well, but that's the current status.
Okay.
Give that to you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Since you talked about auditors and we had a taxpayer inquiry about, they thought there might be some, I don't want to say misdeed, something about using the same auditor or same.
Yeah, so I can cover that.
So we talk about, so everyone knows.
Yeah, so the city of Manistee has an auditor. It's Anderson Tackman. I happen to work for the city of Manistee. And this taxpayer was alleging that the city and the township have the same auditors, which they don't. We use UHY out of Cadillac. City uses Anderson Tackman out of Traverse City, or not out of Traverse City, out of the UP. And then they were also getting I think the city and the county confused, but the county of Manistee uses an auditor out of Grand Rapids, Gabbard and Company. So there's 3 separate independent auditors for those 3 entities.
And there doesn't have to be by law. They all could use the same auditor.
They all use the same auditor, but they don't.
But it came into question, that's why I had that answer. So in fact, we all do use a different auditor, so. And we're audited this year?
Every other year.
Every other, next year, okay. You done, sir?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Bradford? None? Clerk's report, Joan.
Okay, so this has been an exciting month for your clerk. I have been to clerk camp in Muskegon, and last week I went to vacation voter school, put up by the Bureau of Elections, up in Sault Ste. Marie. one of the things that I heard at both events, the event in Sault Ste. Marie is required for my accreditation with the state, and then the other event is training event for municipal clerks. We're going to be required to have new voting machines in a couple of years for the 2028 election, most likely. And right now, they're estimating the cost at $15,000 per machine. Now, everybody says, but that's the high number. It'll likely be less. The state of Michigan is in the process of renegotiating the contracts now. They have to provide a couple of different vendors for clerks to choose from. 10 years ago, I believe the machinery was roughly $6,500 to $7,000 a piece. So I'm guessing it's probably not going to be $15,000.
And how many machines do we need?
We'll need two because we have an absentee counting board, so.
Okay.
What do you do with the old ones? Trade them in? Send them to Iraq?
Yeah, I don't, they
Send
didn't
it
give
back to
any
China.
information on that, on the disposal or anything. And there was some information around about trading in the CPU unit, which I heard at the municipal clerks conference. But the lady from the Bureau of Elections said, don't do that because it'll only be good for a year. We don't know what the new CPU units are gonna be when the new contract comes out. So I'm not coming forward with the great idea to trade in our CPU units and save $1,000 because in the long run, we're gonna buy it again anyway.
Okay. Are we gonna be reimbursed?
So the last time new machines were required, the state did put in some money to help cover the cost. We're being told by the state right now, that's not happening again. That was a one and done. Could they make a new decision further down the road? Sure. But we don't know. We don't have any guarantees.
How old are the other ones? Are they
Not
really
at all.
Well,
10?
every 10 years. Yeah. So the other ones right now would be, 7.5, 8 years old.
Okay.
It's expensive to vote.
Yep, and we will have a November election. So far, there's 2 issues on the ballot, West Shore and the medical care facility.
When's the last day to put something on that?
For November, oh, you have a little bit of time.
Did we talk about, do we want to do the election? We want to wait till next year. Okay, that's fine. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Questions for Jen from anybody?
Oh, I'm going to one more training yet this month. Next week I will be.
Oh, cemetery.
And sick time leave act.
That's right.
It's lovely that it's a day combination, earn sick time leave, and if things don't go well, cemetery.
You know, we don't have cemetery on here, do we? Not today. Do we want to talk a little bit about that?
I'm understanding that they're not ready to bring that forward yet.
Okay, very good. Okay, Harbor Commission. Wow, look at that, right at the beginning of the meeting.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
The DNR ramp was dredged and everything's back in order within a week instead of the 2 weeks. They redid the pier completely, put new plastic down for the tread and they put new posts on it. And everything, I've been in and out of it, it's fine, not a problem.
How far, so they did the channel out then now, that's been done?
They went out, it was quite wide, it was probably 60 feet,
Oh,
50,
nice.
60 feet wide. And they went out to where they hit 4 feet of water,
Excellent.
and then they put their barriers up.
I didn't go there today, but yesterday I was out there. They didn't put the kayak launch in yet, have they?
Matt left me a voicemail a few minutes ago, said it'll be there Friday or Saturday morning at the latest.
Well, it's kind of on us because they were going to put it in and then the day of, I stopped him from doing it because the guy called me and said, hey, we're dredging, you mind not putting that in? So I kind of screwed their schedule up from Swiderski's standpoint, so, okay,
One more question,
sure.
how's the grant process going?
I was gonna talk about that. You may remember we got delayed at first because of the memorandum of understanding, and then my life has gotten in the way. But the grant will be submitted this week, which we're about 30 days behind what I had thought it was gonna be done, but it's not, it won't affect the long-term result. But I just did not get it done. But the good news is, it's setting us up for the next grant too.
Okay.
Have you had the design done?
No.
Okay. Jim, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, and when, they're just gonna start the other dredging in,
Probably after Labor Day.
okay,
They could make it in August, but I would suspect it's gonna be after Labor Day.
okay.
They have until October, so.
A lot of are we still fishing in September? Yeah. Right, will that screw that up in a way, or no?
No, they make it so you can get
Get
it.
by, okay. Alright. Okay, thank you. Recycling, I guess we kind of already talked about it. I will call her again and see. I told her 3 bins to 4 to, I mean, I guess, because as soon as these people get here, everyone gets here, what, next week, is it? We'll know how many more bins we're gonna need. I don't think most of the summer people are even here yet.
It's common though.
Well, yeah, I know. I think starting next week.
I mean, you can tell that there's more people in the community. It's not at its peak. July 1st to me is always the floodgates day, but,
And if they don't bring any more, the other thing they can possibly do is, the problem is they got such a route, I don't think it comes 4 times a week. If it got down to we don't have any extra bins, but we're gonna come more often, they have to be here every other day just about.
Yeah. Burn pile.
That's why centralized recycling makes perfect sense. One location, easy route.
Nothing on a grant, I don't think they've heard anything, so. Vic, Parks and Rec.
Okay, meeting minutes for April are posted on the site, May agendas posted on the site, subsequent ones are under development right now. I sent everybody an application for Parks and Rec, Sherry, Miller, whether you've had a chance to look at it or not. We could vote on her today, or we can wait till next month, doesn't make any difference. She's been coming to our last several meetings, taking on projects and that sort of thing, so. Number one, we'll have to approve the Parks and Rec and the other bylaws that allow us to go above 9. If we do that, then we can consider Sherry's application, but again, that's not an emergency. The History Committee, they are doing plaques. You may recall the Metro 150, they were doing plaques for several of the buildings. First thing is finally done, it's up there, Big Beth. If you ever get down there, take a look at it, that's the pattern that we'll be using. We had a visit from Disability Network of TC this week to visit all of our parks and give us an assessment. And Langland was very positive review, really liked the rigid walkways. They actually did the slopes down there, being concerned about whether they would exceed the exterior slope of 10%, and we were just under, so they really liked what's going on out there. And then gave, I thought, an interesting suggestion. They said when you put the cross one down there, which by the way, coming next week, next Wednesday, we'll be putting that in. They suggested moving one of the bins, the firemen's close by. That would be kind of a unique possibility for people with special needs. So at Carden, it's not ADA because we don't have parking, but they really like the substrate that we use there, and they suggested that if we go forward at Feldeck with the thing that we've talked about, improving the parking and such, to use the exact same stuff we did at Carden underneath it. So that was a good suggestion. North Point, lots of positives. They like the wagon garden, the asphalt pad, the gazebo, the ADA tables. What they didn't like was the gravel on the rustic path. Said if you use what you use in Carden, then great, but that gravel's been there for a long time, so no big deal. Glenn, at first it was, let's not take him to Glenn because there's nothing ADA about Glenn. But we thought, well, let's just have him look. And she came up with what we thought was a very interesting idea. If we could get grants and such to get it ADA compliant from the parking lot just up to the wells there, the spring. She said there's no place in northern Michigan that has an ADA thing like that. So something for us to think about. That's essentially the recap. And she'll do a report for each of those parks, and I'll provide that report to the board when it becomes available. We got a letter from a young lady named Laura Workman, that's Tom's granddaughter, Gary's daughter. She just graduated with her master's in environmental and ecological engineering, and said she'll be here the month of July and would like to help us, whatever we think is best. And in having some conversations, that subject about Glenn came up, and she was all geeked about that, and said if we'd like, she'd like to take that on as her project, connecting with Gosling Subak, whatever her name is, to get the old plans, to talk to the Disability Network, discuss grants, update the site development sheet to match the current goals, and what I just talked about, update project costs and that sort of thing. So that's been the discussion to this point, but we haven't even brought that to Parks and Rec, because this just came in Parks and Rec meeting isn't until next week or so. So we'll run that by Parks and Rec, and then if they like the idea, we'll bring it back to you guys. And if there's a positive on it, she'll go forward and actually meet the FCCF, maybe do some grants and that sort of thing. So that was nice, that was exciting. It was great to have a young lady like that do some volunteering for us. As I mentioned, the Langland ADA walkway comes in on Wednesday, June 25th. In our kayak launch this Friday. Porta potties at Glen, thank you, Jennifer. And that's it. Unless you got any questions.
Anybody? So I have just two things to mention. So, sand's gone out there. I see people are parking, so I got that. Mr. Griswold took care of that.
This was all.
And I had people actually parking in all the spots yesterday when I was out there, because it was the handicap spots that were kind of screwed.
It's been busy even on weekdays, yeah.
Yeah. And if you haven't noticed, but hopefully you have, so what do you want to call that? The big thing in the park, what would you call that? That they redid, that Brett put up? The structure.
In those parts,
Pavilion, yeah. So I think he deserves it. Him and his guys did a great job putting that up.
Looks nice.
Looks
And it's
nice.
fully operational.
It's wired. I was in there yesterday, and it's got lighting up in the ceiling, which looks really cool at night if you've been by there. It shines up into the rafters and it kind of illuminates down, so looks really nice. So shout out to him. So, fire department.
You get the report.
Yes.
I gotta get it all the time to get it in the packet, but, 25 runs for month of May. Put us at 103 for the year, which is about 15 above last year at this time. Talked about the wildfire a little bit, we already did that a little. Boats in the water, working well. We've had a few members out training with the equipment on it. Get familiar with it. Had 3 calls in the Brown Township, and we had 3 mutual aid calls for the month, 2 in the Manchester Township, 1 in the Bear Lake. I think probably on the bigger note on the report is that we've got 1 member that lives relatively close here, is moving further away, which is gonna hurt our quick response for fire EMS. So, he lives up on 8 Mile. He's normally one of the first ones here, gets the lights on, gets the truck started, all dressed up by then. Other of us get down here, so we're gonna have to overcome that a little bit. Which then puts our roster down roughly to 7 trained people, 1 non-trained. We got 1 medical gal that's out on medical leave. So we got 6 EMS firefighters, and we got 1 firefighter certified.
And you're saying you're about half down from what you were 2 years?
3 years ago.
A year and a half ago, probably. We had, at one point, not too long, we were at 14.
Wow. Any new prospects?
And then that are longevity based, we got a couple counselors over at the Bible camp that are interested in maybe.
And they're what, like, they're here for the summer season?
One thing about maybe hanging out maybe trying to move in the area, but, nonetheless, I mean, not trained, so we'd have to go through training, which is fine, we'll do it, but, you know, we put on the fire class once every 2 years, and then the medical classes.
And the fire class is like, how many, 240? How many hours?
I don't know exactly how many hours, but it's almost 8 months long. 3 nights a week.
I think it's 240 hours.
Just wonder if that,
Firefighter 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
just wonder if that would be something good to like post on that community connection page if we're looking for extra people.
I think we've put stuff out in the
They did,
past.
yeah. Can I even go ahead? So,
Yeah, the career day that we had no election, we had a couple students that were interested, but we followed up, we followed through, but it showed not. But that's, you know, in my closing paragraph, you know, that, those trends are
everywhere.
everywhere, it's just not an Onekama thing, so, not that it makes you feel any better, but it's the reality of the thing, and so, you know, we're, you know, kind of brainstorming with some different ideas in the county and what things might look like, what we could do, you know, with the district or something like that, but, nonetheless, you gotta find people to hire to put into it, so, you know, some of the answers are, you know, think about full-time person, you know, at these departments or some of the departments, and, you know, we can afford that, where would that money come from, what would that look like, and that kind of stuff, but, in our case, you know, it's kind of a big hit for us, because there's 2 of us that are relatively close, he makes the 3rd, so we can put a fire truck out with a fire attack crew with backup water with 3 people. You know, now that takes that whole thing out of play. Not that there's some people that will respond to the department, but they're looking, you know, 5-6 minutes to get here to where they live. So, which in the grand scheme of things, 5-6 minutes, you know, you think, well, that's not too bad. But yeah, they gotta get dressed when they get here, and then they got.
It's 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, so, that's probably the biggest thing you need to take out of that report, is that, and, it's not the end of the world by any means, but, something that we'll have to overcome and work our way around it, so.
We do have younger people, but we have quite a few, well,
We're young, I mean, so to speak.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Compared to 90, yeah, I agree.
So,
Okay.
so, that's all I got.
Rob, have you guys had any opportunity to use the drone, like fly it for like in a real event, or have you been practicing at all with that?
Yes, we went up, we took pictures of the wildfire, sent those up to the Forest Service, they want to see it. That way they gave them a better measurement of
Yeah.
exactly
How big?
how big, and I have not heard back from them on their final number. I'm gonna guess it's somewhere between 35 and 45 acres, something like that roughly. And then we had one call, for a missing subject up in Maple Grove that we were not able to go to, because our pilot was not in town. So we're working on getting some people certified in flying that drone, so that's a process. It's about 10, 12 hours of computer time, and then you gotta go take a test up in Traverse City, so. But yeah, so it's not like we can just do it in a day or
No.
2, but yeah, I mean, we have had some, and we do practice with it. We were flying it the other night from here around the village.
How far can you go from, I have no idea, but how far can you go from where you're standing with the control?
So we were up, we were west of the village boat launch, probably out by Glenwood.
From here?
Yeah,
That's impressive.
and then up north of the high school and back down the road.
Will it tell you, like, when you get out of range, or will it tell you when it's gonna tell you when it, before it gets out of range? Well, not crash land, but it comes back, right? That's what happens when it gets out of range?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
it'll tell you you're getting out of range. You can look, you watch your bars start dropping and you know it's time to get back.
okay,
And it's got the crash avoidance system on it, so we can't run into anything. So technically you're not, yeah, technically it'll let you run into anything.
so if you're headed towards a tree, the thing overrides your command?
Yep.
Oh,
So,
Probably good.
and if the battery, if you're out too far and the battery starts dropping and it knows it doesn't have enough juice, it'll come back automatically and light it.
based on how far away it is?
Yep.
I'll be darned. Okay.
So, yeah, it's got GPS coordinates in it, so we can shoot that back to whoever we want
Okay,
for locating people.
locate people or someone in the woods or whatever. Okay,
So, but there are a few departments starting to get them now, so, the city just got theirs, they've already used it once, or we might have been deployed to help them with that particular unit, but they had their own, so.
It's pretty good range.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of stuff, weather and stuff, but.
Yeah. Cool.
all right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Anything else? No?
No.
Good. Oh, you mean good, thank you, I don't mean good for that reason. Zoning administrator,
I get it.
we have a report on file?
In your packet, yeah.
Okay. Talked to her today, so planning commission and ZBA, David?
Planning Commission meets tomorrow. The big agenda item is Bob Gazan and Duncan will be in attendance and to discuss the plan for Portage Point Inn. I feel that the special use permit that's in effect right now dates from 2017. It's woefully out of date. It's centered around a municipal sewer system that isn't happening. And we just need to have a better idea of Mr. Gazan's plans going forward. And be able to better tell the community what to hopefully what to expect from Portage Point Inn. And I think everybody wants it to succeed. So the CCPL folks have been notified, and I believe Nancy Swanson will be in attendance at that meeting, so she can listen in. And it is not, and I think I emphasize this to her, it's not a public hearing per se. We will of course take public comment at the meeting as we normally do, but it's more to get a discussion report from Mr. Gazan.
Okay,
And ZBA met yesterday. We had one case over in Wickliffe, which was a setback variance for property that abutted a paper road, and the variance was granted.
okay. That's it?
Oh, and back to the planning commission quickly. We have two applicants for the vacancy on the planning commission, and we will probably begin discussion of that. I don't know what the planning commission wants to do, if they want to do interviews, if they want to just go by how they like these people or don't like them.
I don't like him, I don't know why you say that.
Well, because he's my neighbor, you know.
Oh, okay. You have two applications, so you plan on interviewing or whatever you're gonna do, and you're gonna make a recommendation to the
And then
township
we'll
board?
make a recommendation to the township board who makes the actual appointment.
Correct. Okay, you plan on doing that like next month, or you don't know yet?
I expect we'll get word to you by next month.
Okay, very good. And since you mentioned it, David's one of them, he's sitting right here,
Yeah.
right?
Mr. Gleason is one of our applicants. The other one is Ted Aaron.
Ted Aarons, yes, correct. Okay, very good. That's it? Questions, anybody? None? Okay, very good. Roads.
So you probably have noticed that they have started doing work around Onekama. They started patching, and patching is basically precursor to being able to do the chip seal. Brad feels that patching will be done in a month's time, maybe possibly up to 5 weeks. And then in August, they will be back with chip seal. We're planning, right now, the best time frame he could give was from the 1st of August to the middle of August. All of the chip seal will be done in 1 week, weather permitting. They will, again, unless they get under the gun because of a lot of rain or something, they plan on not working weekends, and then of course we'll make sure that they are not working during Onekama days. After they do the chip seal, it will be followed by the fog layer fog seal. That should only take a matter of a few days, and all work is expected to be done by Labor Day. Regarding work, Portage Point, and as he called it, the numbered streets, he is waiting to hear from the contractor. And when I talked to him today, he was still waiting to hear from the contractor. But he anticipates, again, not having heard from the contractor, that the work will be done in July.
Okay.
We gotta make sure he remembers about Lake Isle too, because
That's bad.
well, and that's gonna be one of those emergency vehicle things where
You're
people.
talking about taking the sand out. I've already talked, they just gotta have, yeah.
Okay, good. Because that'll happen. I mean, it's getting
No, it's
crowded.
getting there because they're getting crowded and they're gonna park there. So on that same thing, so is it Wildflower Lane? So I got a call yesterday from Brad, the foreman. I sent him out there because that gentleman sent a letter in that the road was breaking up in front of his, and I thought it was a private road, but it wasn't. It's county road. There's not enough money that he can't skid pave the whole thing without, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So he said that they would do it if we just split the cost of the asphalt with them, that they would do it. I don't have an exact figure because he didn't know how much it'd take, but I told him to go ahead and do it if it meets board approval, because otherwise they can't put the rocks on it either.
Right.
It'll
It'll just fall apart.
If
It's
it's
just-
not done, it'll just get turned back to gravel.
Yeah, he
You don't
said
wanna
if
do
it
that.
doesn't get done, they'll just grind it up and it'll be gravel, so I didn't think that was a good idea. So it's not gonna be that much, but he's out of money. They're doing, to spend here, because I think they're doing all of Far Road, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
skid pave that whole thing.
He didn't say that, but I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying they're not. The only skid paving that he talked about was Maidens and Emerald Ridge.
Maidens is
They
done.
did a bunch on.
No, I mean, he was just given that
Yeah.
report.
Or Erdman Road.
They did a bunch on Erdman.
Erdman Road, they did a whole bunch. So it should be good when it's all
The
done.
only other interesting aside at the road commission meeting is Brad brought up that Jacob Huck had contacted the road commission because he wanted them to do a survey to determine the right of way on his property. And basically the response from the commissioners was, we're not gonna pay for a survey. I mean, basically, he doesn't like the results of the survey he had done. So he wanted the road, according to
I know.
Brad, so he wanted the road commission to pay for another one, and the commissioners directed Brad to give him an appropriate response.
No. I'm assuming that means, but there is a survey there that was done, so I don't know why.
Use a different kind of
According to
measuring.
Brad, according to Brad's interpretation, he did not like what the survey said, so he wanted the road commission.
No, they didn't. They objected to the survey in court.
That's the point
Oh,
that Brad
okay.
was making at the meeting.
The problem was it wasn't our survey. So he commissioned it. Anyways, okay.
I mean, they
that's-
talk about other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not concerning Onekama, any of the other stuff.
Okay.
I don't think,
Good.
Except this is just inside, the Bar Lake culvert is deteriorating.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah, I
I
forgot about
suggest you
that.
drive very quickly over that.
was it falling in? Oh, no
You can
kidding?
see where it's patched, the patches are actually
Oh,
potholed.
They did talk about needing more staff too, which.
I didn't hear any of
you mean workers? Well, they're down, I think they're down on help.
Well, I think potentially they're down on one, but, they're talking about, they have 13 guys for paving, 2 guys for mowing. And then talking about winter, but it was sounding like
I'd do the
that they
mowing.
wanted to hire a couple.
They were out mowing today.
That giant
They were out mowing,
mower,
they were, oh,
that'd
that's a
be
pain. They were out mowing today.
They're,
Oh,
they're
God.
planning to get like, what was that, like a $500,000 new mower, so that could be like the thing you would.
And I think was it,
I could break that within 2 days.
well, and they were talking about this very high-tech expensive mower, and
Like,
it was commented,
autonomous.
and it was commented that, you know, you should probably have one of the younger workers use that, because one of the guys is retiring in a year. And the thought was, no, well, you need somebody that knows what they're
I don't
doing,
think the
so.
mower's as smart as the drone.
Oh, okay.
That's a dangerous
just-
system.
it was
Oh,
interesting
like the arm.
conversation.
Yeah.
We watched a guy one time was going through, someone threw concrete out there and had the arm, well, he couldn't see it and just destroyed it. It was years and years ago. Those things are they're hard to run. It takes a good guy to run one.
Well, and it's got the big blade, I mean,
It's got the blower here, it's that over here. You gotta watch all the time, watch the ground. Yeah, it's not fun, so,
They have mower envy, because like Wexford County's got 2 of these.
the fancy ones.
yeah. They buy a new one, I'm guaranteed they get a new hat for whoever places the order.
Yeah, they bet.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. Assessor, so, great news, the state's decided to update the manual with new multipliers. And guess what, they're not going down, just so you know, the construction manual.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard that too. So what'll happen is, so the multipliers, there's a huge increase. Now, because of sales, we don't need all the money that's going, long story short, that will just lower. One's gonna go up and the other multiplier is gonna go down. So it won't adversely, you're not getting a huge raise, but stuff is way off again in sales this year. So, we're gonna send cards out in 2 weeks to people we're gonna visit. So if you get a card, it just means we're gonna come check your place out, check the measurements. If you don't want us on your property, just need to call the office and
Don't freak out if you see somebody in your windows, got it.
we no look in windows.
I'm teasing.
No, that's a big no-no.
I
That's like,
was teasing.
I know, but don't even go there. It's a bad deal. Other than that, everything's good. No, don't want to look in windows.
No.
I'm teasing, shouldn't have said it, sorry.
Knock at the door, leave a card if nobody's there, which is what we do. And unless we get somebody calls, we had a few calls over the years. I don't want you on my property. That's fine. We would try to do it from best we can from the road. And aerial
Don't you gotta,
measure.
remeasure?
Yeah, but I measure from the aerial.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fairly accurate within whatever. I mean, it gets you close enough to.
Yeah.
So that's it. Evasive.
So one thing I had Jennifer send, the report, and it's one of those things when I read the report, I knew what it was supposed to say, and I just noticed it said that the first treatment was July 10th, and it should have said June 10th, so I'll go and correct that. But anyway, so Kaiser and Associates did preseason survey on June 6th, 3rd. Roger Berger was with them, Doug Berry was with them, and Joe Halloran asked if he could join, which he did. It was interesting to listen to them talk about it at our meeting Monday, because I don't think any of them totally anticipated the length of time that the survey was gonna take. They were on the water about 3.5 hours. And it was because the approach that Kaiser takes with their lake scan, which is part of the reason, if you remember, we thought they were the lake manager we should go with. They document in real time everything all along the shoreline. So the great thing is we've got great mapping. As a result of that, They identified 3 areas that needed treatment. That was done on June 10th.
Did they say anything about the soot over on?
They did not make any comment about the ash, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. Just in general, different water tests they were doing, what we have found out is that the phosphorus and nitrates in our water, even when you look at different flows where there's stormwater coming in or whatever you want to call it coming in, we are like at a really, really very low safe. Even in our challenged areas, it's safe compared to like larger areas and even others of our kind. So he was really impressed with that.
that's good.
They will be back out now in about a week, and then they will go to the areas they treated to make sure that, you know, there is some acceptable efficacy of the treatment they used. Because again, that's another thing with them, they really want to evaluate that and not just keep
Pouring it out.
treating something because they don't have a better solution. Other than, and the lake looked good, other than those areas that we kind of knew were trouble spots from before, like by the marina. We are talking about, separate from their report, Tyler Dula brought up a boat wash day. So we're gonna have, I don't know the final date of it, but we're gonna do that hopefully to encourage people to wash their boats.
And I think they trailers too, so they don't train.
Yeah, because that's what most people believe is happening in Portage Lake, because most of the trouble spots are where boats are going in and out of the water.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Questions? Anybody? Yes, David.
Not invasives, but is anything more gonna be done about the testing that's done by other outfits over the E. coli at like Easy Street and Chimpy Creek?
So they took water samples, actually Kaiser did.
Okay,
Now those we don't have all the results of.
because for the last 2 years, the E. coli at those 2
Was
sites
higher.
have been off the charts.
Right.
And District 10's response to that is, well, they're not swimming beaches at Easy Street, so it really doesn't matter. Makes me glad I don't live on Easy Street.
No, I think you'll find a different analysis from Kaiser and Associates.
Good.
I mean, I'm not saying a different result, I'm just saying I think the approach they take,
It is different.
the way they communicate is gonna be significantly different.
Okay, very good.
So far,
Yeah.
our committee is really impressed with the first experience that we had with them. And there was another comment, there was a resident, I guess, who was out and questioned the chemical being put in the lake. And Dr. Pullman, which you may remember, I told you was one of the scientific-based people on their team, wrote a very extensive, thorough explanation to the owner. And there's been no other communications, so I'm assuming that the property owner was satisfied, but just the responsiveness of them, I thought was really great.
Really good, okay.
And was that treatment done by PLM or Kaiser?
It was done by so Kaiser doesn't do the treatment,
Right.
so PLM did the treatment, but Kaiser oversees that.
How did that go? Oh.
It went well.
Okay.
I mean, and like I said, Kaiser will be out again, like in a week, to see how well the treatment went.
Okay,
And that's the thing I love about Kaiser too, they really are not gonna promote further treatment unless they see a positive impact on what they're doing.
That's good to know.
okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, new business. Irrigation.
So the irrigation, we're in the process of getting some bids.
They're not all in yet.
Nope, they're not on
Okay.
yet. Nope, because we're gonna include North Point Park. To see
Okay,
about having both places done.
Who did we solicit bids from? Or no?
So North Point Park solicited from.
First it was from the one that came four way,
Right, Betsy Valley is no longer in business, that's who used to do it, they're now, Four Seasons Pro Maintenance or Pro Maintenance Four Seasons, something like that. They've come out and given a bid at the park, but not here. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. And then we reached out to S&S Irrigation, which is Paul Sanderson, he's over, in Bear Lake, well, he's Bear Lake address. And then
Metcalf, wasn't that?
Metcalf has been reached out, so Gene is following up on a couple that they originally reached out to, and in conversation.
Shoreline, Caleb,
Caleb,
I would highly recommend him, he does.
Yeah,
nice
Caleb's
work.
a good
So-
guy.
Yeah.
So one of the fun things about my job is that if not every day, at least every week, someone says, oh yeah, the clerk's supposed to do that. Did anyone tell you? So when I
Well,
was
truth
looking
to
at
that.
irrigation for here, and in fact, when we did the well process here, I didn't know we had irrigation in the well at North Point Park.
Right.
So it makes sense to, combine those two services if at all possible. And to that end, I'm taking some of the quotes that Gene's had and asking them to quote here and vice versa, the quotes from here and saying, hey, are you interested in adding on that? And same thing with the well, Doyleberg, who we've contracted with to do the well here. The well has been ordered, or the pump rather has been ordered. So that should be arriving anytime. He happened to be in the Onekama area today. He was supposed to go out and look at the well, et cetera, at North Point Park and see what issues they're having there and what it would take to resolve them.
And why he didn't start a little sooner is he came in here to find out what happened. Never got the response. He sent an email about you've been ordered this thing. He didn't even know. I don't know if it went in his junk mail, did he
No,
say?
so his system is set up that he sends you the bid, and if you like the bid, you click on it and you sign the document right there. So we had taken, the first time he did that, we had to have a discussion at the next board meeting, that link expired. He sent me a new link. While we were on the phone, I clicked on it and signed it and said, yep, we agree to these prices, and signed the contract. His system somehow didn't dump that back to him.
Oh, that's what happened.
So now it's
It's all
all set.
set.
He's found it, fixed it, and we're all set.
So, and I turned the irrigation was never turned on here because the guy that he sold out and the new company, we didn't contact them, so they never came. So I turned that on yesterday and it's got, what, 5 bad sprinkler
A
heads?
bunch of the heads.
5 or 6 of the heads are
Replaced.
bad.
Off until we get them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Pro Maintenance was supposed to contact us, and they didn't.
They didn't, Yeah.
Not that we didn't contact them,
right.
so.
So it needs to be repaired. They're not, no big deal, but in fact, we talked to the maintenance man here about doing it. He didn't sound too keen on it.
I was gonna ask
He
about
was-
that.
We did ask him.
The hired man was willing to take on the project, felt that he probably had the skill set to figure it out, dug up all the heads, a number of them have been under the cement, some have been hit obviously by a snowplow and other things like that, and then said that his right-hand man
Yeah,
failed him today,
because I was gone,
because he was busy,
yeah.
and
You're
so.
more like the left hand.
Yeah, no, whatever. I said, is that hard to do?
No,
He said, yeah. You've done it before? Well, yeah.
of
I do them
course,
all the time, but
so
apparently we're fixing
you
it.
boys get on it.
I would, feel free, I fix irrigation too, but it's so easy to just let the guys that do it every day just
Well, I
fix
know.
it. They flush
There
them
was
all out. they
Some
take care of it,
discussion
done.
that the gentleman who owns here next door,
Yeah, well, I asked him.
I think a reasonable case can be made that his customers over the course of the winter probably damaged a lot of those sprinkler heads with the plowing to make it easier for them to walk, with the parking and the driving, and multiple people have driven over that berm, that perhaps he might, as a good road
Driving over
gesture,
that thing.
Oh,
go
the
and
way,
take a
oh,
look
yeah.
at it and see what it needs.
I didn't, you know what, I wouldn't have thought of that, but
Oh, yeah.
I get it now, yeah.
Well, it's easier. So you have to go all the way to the road and turn down 50 feet and
Just
then
drive
take.
over the top of it.
It's way shorter.
It's gonna be a highway by user.
Yeah, there you go. Where's the road right away? There actually is a, just so you know, Dan, just so you know, that is a platted road there.
Oh, wait.
Yep.
Oh,
Behind.
Right there where the driveway comes in the back of the slipper. Yeah, that's a road.
Really?
Yeah, really. See, you're laughing about it.
Yeah, start
You can use
making
that.
a nice rut.
Okay, so we're gonna wait till they all come in, make a decision, hopefully get them out to North Point right away because they're worried about losing trees, right?
Correct.
There's a,
their own plan.
Okay.
Make sure we don't lose any trees.
You can use my trailer if you want, if it would help.
Double wagon, everything is fine.
Okay, sure,
Do not upset the apple cart.
Everything is
It's
good.
fine.
okay. This is what, discussion regarding ordinance 2019-01 marijuana establishment ordinance.
That was your request, sir.
I asked to have it put on the agenda again, so it was discussed years ago about having a marijuana something, allowing something in Onekama Township. I brought it up years ago because it passed here. That law, when it was voted on to legalize marijuana, actually passed in Onekama Township. So I'm only bringing it up because the past board said, no, we were not interested in pursuing any of that. Well, it should just be talked about, and if it's decided we don't want to go down that route to even have planning look at allowing it somewhere.
Like
then
a store, is that what you're talking about?
you could do a store or a grow facility, or I think you have the power to do anything locally. That's what Brown did, so. Like I said, I only asked her to do it because it was voted on and turned down by the board. Now we have a new board. I don't know if it's something you want to look at or not look at, or just kill right off the bat. I mean, we can't, obviously, in the village, you couldn't allow a store. We don't have the authority to do that.
Calvin Lutz has got the area pretty well sewed up, I think.
It's up to, if you want to kill it, you
I
can
don't
kill it.
want to hear that you've been on there.
No, he's got a whole store.
Yes, no, maybe, kill it, no, don't talk about it. It's on there, that's it.
I'm certainly not interested in a grow operation on Onekama Township. The air quality issues are terrible.
Okay,
The recreational, I'm not super interested in. There is a big financial benefit to communities that have those, but that's just, at this point, we've got so many of them around, I don't think they're necessary.
the city has how many? 5?
4, and the
One
fifth
closed.
one is being offered again because they turned it back in.
They turned their license in. So they roughly 50, no, I'm gonna guess,
It's been around
58?
50,000 a year
Yeah, okay.
per license.
because they split it evenly amongst the state, so you don't have to have the sales here, but they
Right.
divvy up the profits and share it equally amongst all the locations. So you could have one here that does $10,000 a month and one that does $100,000 a month, and at the end of the year, you get the same payment per license to the government. I think Bear Lake's looking at it, allowing a store downtown, the village, which, they could use the money, obviously. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, I heard one. I have 3 no.
I agree
I'm
with,
happy to have the discussion. I'm gonna vote against it.
yeah, I agree with what Ed said. I don't know.
I'm good, let it stand.
Let's stand as what?
She said putting up a stand.
Oh, you're good. No, she actually didn't say, she was all willing to put up a
She
stand.
phrased it in the positive.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, I get it. But I got 1, 2, 3 that are saying no right off the bat. So, okay. Huh?
But I'm supporting.
Discussion.
She's supporting the
What I meant,
ordinance.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I thought I knew what you meant, but at
I
first.
know, but you were ignoring mine.
The rest of us plebes.
Well,
were
they already got
negative.
3 no's. 1,
Ignore
2,
me, see
3,
if I care.
4.
It'll be a 4-1 vote, I believe.
No, I'd probably vote in the affirmative also because it passed here. That's why I look at it. If people actually passed it here, of course, I got told by Bob it was a younger voter group in that election, so it really didn't count. So I don't know how you determined that, but anyways,
They didn't vote if they wanted to.
that's was it. That's what I got told. Okay. Okay. Guess we'll move on to all these bylaws. Review invasive species committee bylaws.
So, Parks Committee had requested several changes, and so I went through all 3 of them just because when we first wrote them, we wanted them to be consistent. So there was just a few little changes that we needed to make to the invasive species, and there actually was one to the Harbor Commission, but it wasn't what we talked about, it was something else.
Okay.
And then there was several, and I think, didn't we have the red line copy in here? This is the final copy. Was there a red
I
line?
think I included all of them.
The only one that showed any red line, you had one invasive species that had a red line, the rest of them didn't have red line. But Ed, one thing, on invasive species, we had asked for language that said, there would be like not less than 7 people on the committee,
Okay.
and I didn't see it changed
I
on ours.
would have missed that one because I didn't have that in my notes. I must
Yeah.
have missed that. So
Yeah,
I
because
think we can-
that's when Vic jumped on it and said, hey, Parks and Rec would like that too. And I noticed he did it on Parks and Rec, but he didn't on mine, I'm like.
Well, you just said they don't listen to you.
Well, so not.
Vic, you're not helping.
Typically, not less or at least 7 members, but should there be a cap? I mean, great, we want at least 7 members, but does that mean we want 43 members?
No, do we say 7, but no more than 9?
That's what the original one
What's
said,
that?
5, no more than 9.
Okay, so what do you want to change it to? 7 or
What
more?
it changes, a minimum of 5.
On invasive species, it says shall consist of 7 members, so that we need to
And we had
edit that
said
verbiage.
at least 7, but I noticed the language you used on Parks and Rec was no less than 5. So if you wanted to keep it consistent, you could say no less than 7. And I can't imagine, 1, there would be that many people interested in invasive species,
I know,
but
but
2, it would leave it up to the committee to say, no, we're not gonna, we're not gonna allow 43 people.
So what do you want it to say for invasive species, not less than 7?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So we could.
Just, I'm copying the language you used for Parks and Rec.
I think
That's the way you worded
Where's
it for
that?
Parks and Rec. You said not less than 5.
Right there, pass it.
Yeah, this is the clean tab. I was just trying to find the markup one so you can see the change.
see, now I've got
The only markup I
red
saw
line
was
on invasive species.
I don't see a markup on the Parks and Rec, but anyway, it said basically,
Committee shall consist of no less than 5.
right. Is that right?
That's what it
Yes.
says. You wanted to say that?
It was no less than 5, no more than 9, it just dropped to no more than 9, so that's fine.
So you leave it open-ended. You want the Parks and Rec to say not less than 7?
I don't care about Parks and Rec.
Or
I'd like,
invasive, excuse me.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't care, no. I don't care about Parks and Rec.
And then just for Jim's benefit, on the Harbor Commission, Jim, the only thing I changed on that because there's inconsistency
You know, I'm
was,
teasing.
um,
I don't care about the bylaw.
right here, it says the bylaw shall be reviewed at the organizational meeting in April. It used to say March, which is wrong, so that's why I think that changed that.
Right.
So I would make a motion, unless somebody wants me to try to pull up a different red line, if you, that
I'm
we
looking
accept
to see if I missed it.
all the bylaws as presented, with the exception of changing in the invasive species committee to say not less than 7.
I second that.
Okay,
Okay, discussion.
yes.
What are the unintended consequences of not stating an upper limit? It's fine that the committees as they stand now might not choose to have 43 members.
Are any of those committees paid?
Well, they don't get to choose though, but we have to appoint the members to the board. So if we don't want 2043, we don't have to appoint them.
Right, we bring the
Okay.
applications to you.
Yeah, it's just not, they can't
Okay.
appoint, so there is no, you can control that number.
Okay, I'm just
The upper
checking
limit.
for the unintended
Yeah.
consequences of something.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Okay, any other discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried.
So you're gonna issue new ones then?
I'll get them to you and we can.
Cindy, you made that motion and who seconded it?
He made the
Ed
motion.
made
I
a motion,
seconded
she
it.
seconded. Sir, you done with that?
Look at that, 3 items on the agenda, done just like that.
Only 5 o'clock?
Magic.
If you'd be quiet, we go far faster. So survey wetlands.
What was that? After me?
Because Tim.
So nobody, it was Matt.
Now captured.
Matt.
So not only does.
I think he sent it to me. I'll take credit for
Is that registered?
No,
Yeah.
I simply, Survey wetlands. We talked about this before. I think that's a good idea too.
So, yeah, I first brought it up because in conversations with Vic, there's multiple things going on there. One, we know that there's encroachments in the township wetlands. We probably need to identify those and deal with that. Two, it might be nice to set some permanent fence, nothing's permanent because people go down, but actually set some metal posts so we have that just for the benefit of the Parks and Rec group and for the township. And then, if there is ever gonna be any potential future trails through there, which is a possibility, it would be nice to have that surveyed. That will help with the process because I think there's some paper roads in there that at some point would have to get vacated. It might be nice to know where some of that is. So I'm happy to get with Vic and with the Spicer Group, with Pat Bentley, and kind of figure out what the most economical way to survey that is and figure out, what we need. We don't need every parcel surveyed. We just kind of need the boundaries, identify the encroachments and maybe some of the in-holdings possibly. And, maybe we can do that in bite-sized pieces. It's not gonna be inexpensive, but I think it's a good time to do it with the water being down, and I'd like to see that happen, but I can bring back a proposal if that's something
Okay.
the board's interested in.
When you guys are doing that proposal, don't forget, I still have like 12 posts, those rodent posts
Okay,
that are sitting on my farm.
yeah, we need to do not a survey, but a survey
A
of.
survey of a couple, whatever road end we talked about don't have the posts on. We bought some posts, we used 2 of them.
What I don't know, Dave, is if we've had any of that property surveyed before. Are you aware of that?
I am not.
Okay, maybe, and it probably Pat or somebody would have done
They
that,
would
so he can
know.
check into that. So we'll bring a proposal back, hopefully to the next meeting for that.
Okay. Along that lines, just because it's not on, what could be unfinished business, but Mr. Bernard has moved his lift off the road. The dock is out.
The mooring gone?
Yes. So just report that. Okay, that was consensus. Everyone's okay with that? This is getting okay. Signage for unfinished business.
I think a different member of the board was maybe gonna look into it, but since I brought up the fact that we might want to have the township logos freshened up with the work that's being done on the building, we'll just throw in the signage options and see what we come back with.
Okay. That's fine with me. Hanford trespass wetland. So supposedly, the date is Friday. According to those letters, that it's supposed to be restored.
They better start working.
Well, today's Wednesday night, doesn't give you much time. So interesting enough, I talked to Jody today, and he had called and they issued him a ticket for the trailer. And what else was out there? The boat, which the boat is gone.
Boat's gone,
They
trailer.
removed the boat, trailer's still there. He called her today and said he'd like because he has 3 weeks. They gave him 3 weeks to get rid of it. Well, he called her today and said he's working with Eagle, and the guy told him he'll have his permit. And he'd like a 3-week extension to move the trailer and that out of there because he's gonna be in there working, doing his foundation or something. So I said, okay. I said, if all that's true,
Why are they making them fix it?
well, so then I said, but before you say all that's true, call Eagle tomorrow and find out if that's a true statement, that we're working on doing this. If it's not a true statement, then don't give him any extension and let's just go after him because that would have been a lie. If it's I don't know that. I just said she'll have to check it out. So that's the marching orders I kind of told her to follow. So all I have is the letters we have on file. It says by the 20th he has to restore it. I don't have a letter saying, everything's okay now. Right? I mean, so.
I do have a question about that document that you sent around, Jennifer.
Yeah, so what?
How did a court proceeding get filed without us authorizing it?
That was my question.
Who?
It was the thing from where Tom Greer had said, hey, what's this about? So that was a result of the ticket.
That was the result of a ticket that they issued, and then that was how you had to proceed. She asked me about it, and I said, she goes, I'll represent the township, and I'll just go to court with this ticket because It was the removal of the boat or whatever it was. Unbeknownst to me at the time, it automatically dragged Tom in because he hired an attorney to move it.
Why do we have to go to court to issue a ticket?
No, it was enforcement.
It's the enforcement.
It was the enforcement of the ticket.
For which issue?
Boat. I think it was the boat. So what happened is she just went down and filed it. Well, then they sent it to Tom, and Tom didn't know nothing about it because she didn't know nothing about it. He escalated the situation to go past the magistrate, and he went and hired an attorney. And as soon as he did that, it triggered that Tom would have ended up having to go instead of, not Jody, Katie. Katie's the one that wrote the ticket and wrote that and did it. So we withdrew, basically. Since the boat's been removed, they just withdrew the whole thing and we're out of it. But I knew they were gonna file, but I had no idea that he would
So had the
Yes,
time
right.
frame to move the boat
expire.
expired?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And she called me and I said, well, you can't, you gotta send him another notice. I said, don't do that. Just go forward. This is getting ridiculous.
Is the time frame for his camper thing?
Is expired. He had so many, 3 weeks.
That's still there though.
Well, that was it. That's why he called today. He wanted to extend it 3 weeks because he said Eagle's giving him permission to do whatever he needs to do. And
But also that making the fix it by Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard to say what's,
hard to say what's true. Vic and I went out there and walked it, 3 weeks ago with Onyx. And you can, I mean, we still have our survey posts are out there and we found our lot where he drove on it. But, well, he did. We knew that months ago, but I can't tell,
I mean, there's clearly.
we can't tell what he
there's
did.
Brush piles.
Since that time, you put up that tape, kind of right where we were standing, like, you know, marking his property line or whatever. But
Yeah.
to me, the problem here is Eagle. I mean, they need to make a decision and stick with it.
I agree. So that's what I told her to do is call Eagle tomorrow. Well, they won't gonna be open tomorrow now.
Oh, that's right, they won't.
What's tomorrow?
Juneteenth,
Was it?
Juneteenth.
Oh.
So it's a state holiday. On a federal?
So I don't understand this email from Eagle to Jody. Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So hi Jody, I was forwarded a couple of messages to Josh Crane related to the Steve Hanford property. We wanted to get this on the same page about Mr. Hanford's property and where we are in the process. Currently, Mr. Hanford is in violation for conducting work in regulated wetlands without a permit. He was sent multiple violation notices, including the one that was sent twice in early February and resent in March, that included the steps Mr. Hanford needs to take to come back into compliance. To this date, he has not responded to any letters, has not taken the steps required in the letter to restore the wetlands that were disturbed on the property. We are unable to issue any permits or even process a permit application for Mr. Hanford until he comes back into compliance. We understand there is frustration on multiple sides with him being unable to move forward now, which is resulting in a lot of phone calls to a lot of people. We have made it very clear to Mr. Hanford multiple times what he needs to do in order to come into compliance and start to be able to move forward. He doesn't seem to want to follow the steps needed to restore the wetland and also seems to be confused as to who issues permits, as he calls Josh Crane telling him he needs to issue him his building permit. We will continue to move forward through I think it's supposed to say through our enforcement process. We wanted to get on the same page and explain where we are at with you, as well as we have all been getting multiple calls and are being told multiple different things. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or issues that arise. I guess what I don't understand, and I'd like to get a clear answer from Eagle, is what is their enforcement process and where are they at in it? Nobody can seem to answer that question.
Well, the only thing we have are those 2 letters which said, if I'm not mistaken, it gave, this Friday is the date.
Correct.
Is that Jay
Yeah,
Riley letter? Ed?
Yeah,
that was Jake.
Yes.
yeah, so if you go, we've got them out on our website in case
Yeah,
anybody's
they are.
interested under Eagle. There's actually 3 letters. One is the notice to restore, but then there's there's a violation notice from April.
That's not the one that mentions the 20th, though.
This is just kind of say, yeah, the one that mentioned it's before that. So this one says July 15th.
Well, now that says different date.
The first one said, June 15th.
Yeah,
So we're already
Give him
past
an
that.
extra day.
they have an extra month.
I mean, it's the same, I don't think it's 2 violations. Anyway,
So they've added another month.
I don't understand. I understand that, yes, they're not even gonna consider a permit until he complies with what they want. But if he's not complying with what they want, what are the next steps? That's what I'd like to get clarity on.
Yeah, well, and the fact that he continues to do things that are in violation of the first and second violation is a little bit.
I was told anecdotally, every time you send him a notification, he puts in 5 more loads of sand, so he's not really scared. He's moving forward.
No, and when I talked to him after that sand issue, he told me they couldn't issue a stop work order until all this time, like they gave him all this time to remedy it. He still has time to remedy it. And they
Okay,
can't
then
stop it
after
from,
that, can they do a stop
Oh,
and
yeah.
cease and desist?
so I think they're gonna criminally
So
prosecute
the
him.
problem is they gave him way too much time to fix
Correct.
what he screwed up, which maybe that's their standard protocol. I know, I feel like we've issued them 2 zoning violations, but at some point, depending on where this goes in the next month or so, I think we need to consider doing a trespass, action against them.
Well, that's why I tried to figure out if in fact he took any trees out, and I don't think we could.
But you're talking trespass on our property,
Our
you're
property.
talking just general trespass.
On our property,
Oh, on our
but
property.
also the road commission. on
Well, the road
paper
commission, and they know about it, but I don't know what I brought it up 10 times. Well,
I
because,
really looked into this. I mean, the road commission might actually disagree with what I'm saying. They do not own the trees. Hanford owns some of them.
Well, then the township owns the center of that road right away too.
Exactly.
So they took out a lot more than 2 trees on our property.
Exactly.
So I think we should have
You
your
own
look
the
at that.
trees to the center line,
Yeah.
but whatever the township property abuts.
Yeah.
In terms of paper.
And that makes sense to me. I think that's what my common understanding is too. And what I guess, I don't want to spend any more money with the attorney than we have to, but if this helps to reinforce the Eagle case, I think we need to look at that and just see what that would do. And maybe it doesn't make sense after we've looked at that, but it feels like that to protect the township's interest, that's something we ought to consider.
There's triple damages and attorney's fees on the statute called statutory conversion, so, I mean, it get pretty tough.
and he did have the trees cut by a logger, so there's a record of it. It's not like they just, the hard part would be to determine if the trees came off the platted paper road or off his property.
Well, they must have a mechanism to estimate that.
Make an estimate.
They'd have to estimate because the logger should have known better because he had Onyx on his phone.
Yeah, but when you and I were there with him, he was saying, well, your Onyx is different than my Onyx. Oh, it's because yours is an Apple and mine's an Android. It's like, we can't use Onyx.
No, but you could get close enough to see, well, it was within 2 feet of the survey marker.
And the Luca map's been updated. Did it show it?
No.
Nuclear?
What do you want?
The previous aerial maps absolutely show roughly how many trees were on it and Google,
Yeah.
and if it was in the, leaf off, you can get that, you can estimate.
So if you go over there and drive by and look, a large part of that property cleared was paper roads, not his property.
Right.
So,
Including selling the timber off of that, which had value. So I do
That's the
believe.
statutory conversion.
I thought we agreed to go after him.
well, the road commission, Brad was gonna do it because,
I thought we were.
He was gonna check with Brad to see if the road commission was, because at the time we thought the road would be the road commission's jurisdiction.
I still think it is.
Well, can we ask Tom to find out and figure out what we should do? Because I don't wanna let this just kind of linger. I mean, if Eagle goes after him after July 15th and hammers him, I think that's fine, but I think we ought.
I think we ought to do both.
I do. He's just thumbing his nose at the community at this point.
Well, and that's the other part of it. It's a complete disregard for any,
Authority.
yes. Or any, all these letters and suggestions and.
Well, they're not suggestions, they're telling him what he has to do.
Tell him what he has to do and to contact them and to work on the solution and make a plan and submit the plan for review. Apparently, none of that's been done.
Well, what's funny is I couldn't believe they couldn't put a stop work order on him. He said they didn't have the authority to do it.
I don't.
Because they've given him time to bring it back in compliance.
Correct. That helps explain that. I can't fathom that Eagle doesn't have the ability to stop. work
They do
order.
after, but not till they gave him,
In the work that he's done is not in the direction of compliance, it's in the opposite direction of something else.
okay?
So do you want me to call Gary? You want to call Gary?
No, you can call him, that's fine, because you have a,
I will do that.
we need to figure out, Dan,
I'll get an
I hate to
estimate
even
of-
go down this road, Dan, why do you, I disagree with you, but why do you think it should be the other way? The township board has, rights to those trees that are on the paper roads?
Well, the court case that's the most recent was, it's called Baum v. Babel, which was in 2010. So this is the current position of the Michigan Supreme Court. You know, prior to that, there's a lot of confusion. That's the current position, is that the abutting landowner owns the fee to the center of the road. And there's all kinds of other statutes which gives that landowner the right to protect their trees. I mean, there's even a law that if a horse like nibbles on a bush, this goes back, but you can get fined like between $1 and $25. And then it says he sold the trees. I mean, that's theft of township property, which is very, I mean, that's where you get into the triple
Triple
damages
damages.
and attorney's fees.
You know who the logger was, Dave?
Yeah, we met him out there. Remember the guy?
Yeah, he's in my,
I don't know his name, but
Bill Miller.
From Manistee?
Yeah.
That property right on 31 Drive. Yeah. So we would have record there because he broke his leg cutting the tree. You know.
He didn't, but somebody there did.
One of his guys or something?
Yeah, kid, wasn't
We
it?
were out there. We've been out there
We
3
might need to just
There's a
flag those
fire,
records.
there was a broken, 2 fires, a broken leg.
Jeez.
And then wasn't it a DNR guy with a fire extinguisher that helped him put it out?
The excavator caught on fire.
And it's spraying hydraulic fluid all over the place.
You can't make
Either
this
gotta
stuff
laugh
up.
or cry.
You can't make this stuff up.
No.
So when he was digging or moving a stump, he broke a fitting, which that happens all the time.
Sure.
Well, it was either caught on fire from the fire or the motor. I don't know which one. I don't know what caused it to ignite, but the oil caught on fire. So the fire, yeah, I drove out there and the fire department's there and I'm going, what the heck is going on here? They're putting the fire out. I don't think it hurt the excavator at all.
Second fire was suspicious though.
Oh. Well, that I don't
There
know.
was what was the second fire? I didn't hear about that.
Same type of thing, but so yeah. I got a phone call from the equipment because he leased that.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. He leased it and he wanted a bigger piece or he wanted something different and then it caught fire again so that they had to come and get it and whatever. It's somebody else's problem.
Do we need to talk?
What? No, I saw a Jeep pulling that driveway and it looked like he was heading up the bank like we were just talking about.
Where's
Can we
God
get-
now?
We need metal sprinklers over there, heavy duty.
Okay, so Portage Point and SUP, we already talked about that with Dave. We don't need to discuss that anymore. Mr. DeVoe, I met with Mr. DeVoe on Tuesday. He has his 5 other fence sections, brand new in the,
I saw him on a trailer.
they were on a trailer. He put them now in the truck to move them. We talked about, he wants to move that closer to the house, which will cover up more, and I said that was fine. He also has the poles there, and I said if I'm coming to check on him next week, and he's gotta get it done, or we're just gonna hire somebody.
What about the fence in the back?
He's gotta go get, he hauled what he could in his pickup that day.
So progress.
Yeah, progress is being made. So,
I have a question about that.
sure,
There are a whole bunch of boats at the very back part of the property.
yes.
Is this paid to store? So we can see a little business back there?
They're all his.
They're all his.
And that was part of the consent agreement.
Yeah, they're all his.
Okay.
You need a boat? He's gonna sell some.
Is Hanford's back there now?
No.
He's gonna pick that one up cheap.
Smart ass.
I'm afraid it's boats.
Should have seen that coming.
That's good though.
Do we have anything else? No?
We've got this.
Yeah, one thing, so I was gonna bring this up under the bills to be.
Okay, we're at Bill's.
Yeah.
This is the front door
This is the
estimate.
front door, right, so, the front door needs a little work, with salt and everything, and it's rusted.
And did everyone know the bid that came in for the door? Itself, not the repair,
It's on
to
here.
to
So it's
replace
on
it.
here, so originally, we bid out, what would it be to replace the door and add, the handicap button to open the door, et cetera, and that bid was $7,875. So then when I saw that, I emailed this gentleman back and said, what would refurbishing the door look like? What would that cost us? And so for that, have them refurbish the door, the labor, materials, the door frame, the hardware, with an option to install the new automatic door opener, which they're called actuators. That would be $1,800, but we'd be responsible for the painting of the door.
So it's 78.75 for the automatic opener and 1,800 to refurbish the door.
Correct.
Oh,
So,
a new door with all the
Bells and whistles.
is,
15, right?
no. We got a new bid. That was 2 years ago. It's now, I want to say it's 18,000.
What?
That's what I said, kind of, but not that exact language.
Yeah, it was huge.
18,800, I think, to replace that.
This
Because-
door right here that I'm looking at.
Correct.
Yeah, but not that way. It's putting in a 42-inch wide single door with a glass filler piece next to it. And it's just one door with one opener.
Does it tell
It's-
you you
it's-
look good when you walk in or anything?
No, it's for handicap. It's more accessible. It's more accessible, but that's what it was. I couldn't believe it either. The guy was here that
are we
day.
not considered
Push button
accessible
open?
right now?
Yeah, push button
We're considered
opener.
Button
accessible.
opener.
So you have someone that's handicapped and come up and just hit the button and get in. I mean, that's
Oh, that's the thing, okay.
That's $8,000 of the price, believe it or not. I
It's
can't
still a
believe
lot
that.
even with
So,
that.
so we're not in any violation or anything right now.
No,
No,
Like that door over there is handicap accessible in there.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have a button.
it doesn't have a button on it.
I mean, I would.
But that one is getting so rusty. We have to
Yeah.
fix
we
the
can
frame.
do
We have,
something about
I
the
would,
salt.
I would be in support of just getting that fixed, you know, if they have to weld on it, do whatever, but they're not gonna paint it, who's gonna paint it?
Correct.
The
Handyman.
Painting
Our
the full door
handyman.
slabs
The
and full
handyman
frame.
will.
Handyman Bob.
Oh, yeah. So they're
What's
saying
that
if you want the
song?
whole
The
door painted,
handyman came.
no, they're full,
Bob the builder.
they will patch and sand and paint the areas they fixed. And
Yeah, but they won't
And
paint
we
the
can
whole
get that
door.
repainted at a different time. They're gonna keep what they fixed from rusting.
Correct.
Fix all the rust areas, and then if we want the doors painted, we can do that later.
The threshold's rusty. I mean, it needs, something needs to be done. If you don't want to put the opener on it,
The threshold's got a
dip in it.
divot in it, and it's metal, so it can't really,
I guess replace it.
yeah.
Wow.
So I'd make a motion, we accept the $1,800
The
proposal.
refurbished price, yeah.
Okay, and you don't want to put an opener on it this time.
No.
Is there a second, Matt?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? None being heard, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Got 3 minutes to beat your record, Dave.
Motion to pay the bills by somebody.
I will move to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence? No, not really. Public comment again.
Question with curiosity. There are 5 people on the ZBA. One of them is also on the planning commission. And there is a possibility of 2 of them being on both boards. Is that the best thing to do?
Oh. Probably not so much, I would say.
They have 2.
So there's 5 members of ZBA?
Yes.
You're still on there, right?
Yes, there's myself and David and Kevin. And then the gentleman sitting right here is on the board, the 2 volunteers that David brought on. I don't.
Dave,
Lisa's, I think, is
I
an
don't-
alternate.
alternate, who else is an alternate?
I don't know his name, but there are 2 alternates.
Okay. I don't know, it's something we should probably look at. Okay,
Anyway,
yeah, no, thank you, that's good comment.
I have one last thing. I'd like to appoint the person that Dick recommended for, we didn't do that, did we, to the Parks Commission, if we can, is it too late to do that?
Yeah,
No, we didn't, it's not too late to do it, I know we have not done it yet.
would you like to make that motion? Sherry,
Yes, I'll make that
Sherry,
Second.
second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Good thing, I forgot, you know why we didn't act on it, because we didn't change the bylaws until later, so
Right.
that was an inappropriate time to vote on it. No public comment online?
Anybody online, if you'd like to comment, unmute yourself, please. Nancy, are you interested? Going, gone.
Okay, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
Try to keep it very brief. Just one more comment.
Here, wait, I'm gonna put my timer on.
On the Eagle wetland.
Okay.
I think that case is gonna go on forever if Hanford fights it. I don't know that they have that strong a case that most of that land actually is a wetland. If you look at the simple definition, but we will see. My other question, the Bernard situation, so that's good, there's been enforcement. I went over there, his boat lift is gone, but the dock.
Well, the dock is allowed.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, I was just looking back at the road end ordinance, and its purpose is to avoid congestion and promote health, safety, and welfare of township residents and visitors. So I'm wondering again, why the road ends, for instance, on Portage Point Drive are not, the subject of this ordinance.
They're not ours.
Portage Point Drive? Well, so all the numbered streets.
That's road commission jurisdiction.
I brought it up with them. They said they don't have any police power ordinance powers over that. I mean,
They don't have a police, I agree with that, but they're still their jurisdiction, not ours.
I was gonna make a final point. The Constitution of the state of Michigan gives reasonable control over any roads in the township to the township.
Oh, okay.
So
You're saying,
in the
could we,
interest of all these things, I would advise, ask that those also be included.
I guess.
I think it's worth looking into. I
Yeah,
mean, there was
I
a
agree.
time way back when the numbered street owners had docks out on the end of those roads.
Right.
And there was a disagreement between the previous owner of the inn and them, and then the road commission ended up telling them, get your stuff off the end of the roads. So at that point, I assumed that the road commission had taken jurisdiction over them.
They
but
had
maybe
jurisdiction.
they haven't.
They had jurisdiction. They had no police power ordinance at the time. The Corps got involved and came back and told them they can't have those, they're like mini marinas and you can't have that. And then the road commission, I guess, back that up.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
say that, but I think your point is, if we could have joint jurisdiction or put them in our ordinance, if they'd allow us to do that, that's something to look at,
I think they
obviously.
would.
Yeah.
They said they.
I can mention that to Tom too, and I talked to him at the time.
So we would have some more control of.
Yeah, we could have control, and you could do the same thing as we do at the other road ends and just say, hey, it's for observation, egress, ingress, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be good to control that with under one document.
Coordinate it with the road commission, so the township's not doing anything that interferes with.
Because my guess is that probably is not gonna be a one-time thing.
Well, no, since the Corps got involved, they kicked them all off. No, that hasn't been an issue because,
Well, I'm saying people putting boat lifts and all kinds of stuff on those road ends.
We've had issues from time to time. I mean, that's part of the discussion about maybe getting Maria or somebody to 3 times a year walk the road end.
Yeah,
We
just
haven't
sort of-
worked through that.
So, yeah, I want to be clear. So there are road ends that are on the road end ordinance, but there are those that are not, that up to this point have been managed by either the Corps or the commission, who's now saying they don't, but yet in the past they did.
Right, we need to figure it out.
and it probably depended on who the manager was at the time, you want to know the truth.
So if we added those to the township road end ordinance, we would be doing that on the assumption that, there's some precedent for that, and then it would fall under one of the 2 categories that we have.
I would think so. You'd have to look up the case he's talking about, talk to the road commission, because I'm sure they'd be in favor of that. How's that?
I heard they don't have any more money, so maybe.
Who?
Road commission.
How can they not have money?
They've reported to you a couple of them, we don't have any money for that, can't fix that, but we don't have.
Well,
any
it's because Jennifer hadn't sent them all the cash yet to repair my damn roads.
for that.
So they're eventually gonna
That
fix
was
them.
hand delivered.
Yeah. Was it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Dan, thank you. That's good. I think that's a good point. That would solve that.
It would.
There's a significant amount of use of those road ends by,
Oh, yeah.
people
Yeah.
coming down to the lake, which at some point probably would be a problem because people will think they're using it in a way they're not supposed to and all that.
Dan, are you talking about the ones between the inn and the canal?
2 through 9.
I think there's one at the, I'm not positive, but I think there's one of those is right at the yacht club.
Yeah.
2.
Two. right?
They're all marked, those big
Yeah.
metal
They have,
poles.
they're all Walmart.
Yeah.
That
But
was hardly functional.
It's hardly functional, because don't you have a big drop off on the,
Not only that, there's a huge tree that
Yeah.
Occasionally, people have gone there and they've, when the water was low enough, they lowered the, or maybe high enough, and they would scuba dive out on the shipwreck over there. I've seen people do that before, off that road end.
oh, I did not know that, okay. Okay, anybody online then, or are we done?
Nope, well, she's online, but she didn't want to comment.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna adjourn the meeting then. Thank you, guys.